Welcome to Unit 6, everybody. I can't tell you how proud I am of you for sticking with it to this point. We are just early into our PHP careers, and we've already created a working system. You can create students, you can find students, you can charge money from their Snack Shop accounts, you can add money to their Snack Shop accounts, you can change their RFID bands, and all that kind of stuff. There's just all kinds of things that you can do. And so, what I was thinking about for Unit 6 is that we will work in the idea of checking in and checking out. And so, what would be the use of this? We're not gonna make something like a classroom check-in and check-out system unless you're using this just for one classroom. But the idea is this is something more for, is the person at work? Is the person at their in school? Is the kid in the nursery? Whatever type thing that is, you just want to know, like, are they in your property? And so we're going to develop two types of check-in and check-out over the length of this course. The first one is going to be the more simple one, which will be a simple are they here, yes or no thing. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to our database. And so we're going to go to PHP myadmin, and then we're going to look at students. And for this situation, we're not going to do this in the form. We're going to do this in the database itself. And so what we want to do is we want to look here, and we're going to say that we want to change the structure of this database. And so we're going to add one column. Let's add one column. And then we're going to call this column checked in. And we're going to give it a type of tiny int because it's only going to be a 0 or a 1. And so we're going to give it a length of 1. And then we're going to give it a default as defined of 0, which means that when we hit save, every single person in the database is going to start as 0. And so the idea is if you're checked in, you're 1, and if you're checked out, you're 0. So let's save this, and then we're going to come back here and look, and we'll see that by default now, everyone is checked in. And so let's think about this. Let's take a look at some of our other code and see if that messed anything up. So if I come here, this is still the same. It didn't add this field because we didn't go in the form builder, which is what we wanted. We added information to that table, but didn't make it show up in our forms because we don't really want it to. So if I come to Hoover and search, and I come here, same thing. So checked in is not there in the form, and that's exactly what we want. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a function. So we haven't done functions since the very early days of this course where we were learning how to write functions. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do this the real way, the way that I think you guys are going to wind up using functions. So if you come to this folder that we haven't really touched very much called user C, the idea of user C is that you can put things in this folder and they're not going to get overwritten by UserSpice updates. And we can get into that more in a later class, so you can check out userspice.com for that kind of information. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to includes, and we're going to go to custom functions. And so there's this place here that basically you can create a function, or you can create a bunch of functions, and they're automatically going to be available to you through your whole class. So what we want to do is we want to write a function that basically says if we tell it 0 that the person is checked out, and if we tell the person 1 that they're checked in. So it's a real simple function. We're going to write function, and then we're going to call it, let's call it CICO, so check in, check out. And then what we're going to do in here, we're going to say what we want to be in, what we need in the function. So we're going to say a number. And then we're going to write a very simple if statement. So we're going to say if number equals 0, then what we're going to do is we are going to echo, and we're going to echo, let's give it a color. Font color equals, and we're going to say, let's make this, if they're in, let's make it green. Oh, they're out. I'll tell you what, if they're out, let's keep it black. Let's do that. Let's keep it black if they're out. And then we're just going to say checked out. All right, so nice and simple. Then we're going to say else if number equals 1, then we want to say echo, let's do a font color here, color equals green. Make sure I got all my quotes right there. Font color equals green. And then we're going to say checked in, and then we're going to close our font tags. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say else, and we're going to take this same thing here, and we're going to say, we're going to make it blue, and we're going to say unknown. And we're going to leave that all in lowercase so it looks weird. So basically what we're saying is when we want to show on the user interface if a person is checked in or checked out, we're going to put whatever number the database says that they have, and then if they're checked out, we're going to leave that as black, and then if they're checked in, we're going to make it green, and if they're neither one of those two, which should be pretty much impossible, we're just going to throw up a blue unknown there. So quickly, if we were to come here to our view students, let's look at this. So students, so we have this table here, and what we're going to do is we are going to put another one here. Actually, let's do it here. And we're going to say status. And then, so because we already searched all for the students, so when we went to select star from students, that new column is already available to us. So the column is called checked in. And so I probably should have used the same CICO or something like that, but this is fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to do TD, and then for now, let's just try to echo out R checked in. Okay, and if we refresh, if we come back here and we come here to search for a student and we do Hoover, then, so we might be off a column on that. You probably saw that. But so we are off one column on the where I put this here. So let's fix that real quick. So let's see here. Yep. Okay, so this needs to go on the other side. And this, like Adele, see you on the other side. And we're going to put this right here. If I can stop tabbing around. So now I'm going to reset and try it again. Okay. So we have our balance here, our status here, and see how it just says 0 because that's what the database has by default. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come back to our code and we're going to say, we're going to take the name of that function and we're going to put in parentheses what we got from the database. So this is going to either be a 1 or 0 from the database, and it's going to echo that out. And I think that should work fine. So we're going to refresh the page, and now it says that they're checked out. So if I come in here to the database and I go to this guy, me, and I mark myself as 1, then you'll see that the green checked in shows up here. And in fact, maybe what we do, let's go ahead to our functions again and let's make that strong. Let's come in here and do this strong, because we want to really know who is on our property. So strong, and so we save and then we refresh the page, and now checked in is just a little stronger. And then in the event that I were to come in here and somehow get a 2, then you'll see that when I refresh the page, when I refresh the page over here, it says unknown. So that's a very little bit of logic of writing a single function. I think you guys have a little bit of energy in you because we're starting Unit 2. So let's go ahead and do one more of these things that we're probably going to use in some different places. And so we're going to write a new function. And we're going to say function echo student. And then we're just going to put the ID here. And so in this situation, what we want to do is we want that whenever we have the student ID, that we can get their name. And so one of the things that's a little weird about functions is that we have to actually tell it that we want to access the database. So we're going to say db equals db get instance. And I don't expect you to know that off the top of your head, but that's a line. If you want to access the database from a function, that needs to be there. Now in this situation, we didn't need to access the database, so we didn't put it in there. And then now what we're going to say is we are going to go to the database, and we're just going to make a very simple query, and we're going to say db query select fname lname from students where id equals question mark, and then we're going to put in the id that we were given. So we're going to the database and said, hey database, we're going to need the first name, the last name from the students where the ID is whichever one the function was asked to give us. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to do a count, and we're going to go q count. So we want to know how many results did we get. And then what we're going to say is if c is greater than 0, so if we found somebody, again, with the fact that this is an ID, there's basically zero chance that we're going to get more than one. We're either going to get 1 or we're going to get 0. So if the count is greater than 0, then the student, we'll just do student, equals q first. So we want to grab the first one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say echo student fname student lname. So what we're saying is when we do the echo student function, if you give us a valid student, we're going to echo out their name. Else, we're going to echo unknown. Actually, let's do unknown student. Okay, so very simple. We can test that function real quick. So we'll go here to students.php, and just right here at the top, we're going to say testing, and then we're going to say PHP echo student 1. And then now when we go to students.php and refresh the page, you'll see testing Dan Hoover. So it brought it in. If I were to come into the code and do like that, then that's not somebody who's in the database, and we get unknown student. So we've made a nice little function that will allow us to bring up the student's name quickly, and anytime that we want to refer to the student, we don't have to do a full database query to go get them. We can just use that little function. And so you're learning a little bit about functions, and you're getting more advanced, and you're getting more tools in your tool belt so that you can develop software and make a living and support your family and live out all your dreams and all that kind of good stuff. And again, can't say enough how thrilled I am that you're in this class.